best-selling book, and
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. This is Vito X Dino. My name is Vito. I screwed it up already. His name's Dean Haspiel.
Wait, what's your name? You said
I'm
your name,
done.
right?
I'm done. Go on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dean Hasfield, and that is Vito Delsante.
Thank you. I'm Vito. Hi everyone. I'm Vito Delsante. We have two very special guests tonight. I'm very excited to sit and talk with them. They just launched a new Kickstarter, uh, probably the third or fourth one from Cosmic Lion, if I'm not counting correctly, but we'll get into that. Doug Latino, who is the co-editor of Real Life Comics, and Eli Schwab. Schwab, am I saying it right? Eli Schwab, who is the publisher at Cosmic Lion Studios. Welcome, gentlemen.
thanks, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to be here.
Hi, guys. I was going to start off this Zoom with a little bit of bad news, which I think we will all respond to. Guess who just passed away?
Oh no.
Is it Donald Trump?
Sorry, no.
Because I was going to say, if that's the bad news, I'm not.
Can you imagine if that was my bad news? Like, no. Apparently there's a little bit of controversy around him, which I won't really get into because I didn't follow up on it. But if you said to me, Dean, what are the 3 songs you would pick to take to your island, right? The knee-jerk reaction I had, and this is not in order because I'm going to say the last one, the one of the person who just passed away just now is going to be the last song. But I always said like "When Doves Cry" by Prince, "Fat Bottom Girls" by Queen,
Both dead.
and now "Planet Rock."
No, Afrika Bambatta.
Afrika Bambatta,
Oh,
67 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
I met him
And
once. I produced a show that he did in our the club in
really,
Vermont. Yeah.
that's too
you know,
young.
you sound low, Eli. I don't know.
Oh no, I'm pretty
That's
happy.
no, but I got to meet him too at some kind of movie thing, and I was with Mike Houston, and after the movie, he was there, and we had this opportunity to take a picture with him, and we didn't do it, and I don't know why. I take a picture with everybody,
He'd
you
want a
know?
different photo of you, I think, though.
Maybe he didn't
Yeah,
want
right.
he didn't want to take a picture with you, Dean.
Oh, stop it now. But anyway, Africa, Planet Rock is my #1 song of all time. Of
Really?
all time, Planet Rock. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a very good
Yeah.
one.
What's
I
your
bought
what's
his.
your 3 songs, guys? Or can you say your favorite one if you had to
Oh
pick one?
God.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, Terrapin Station by Grateful Dead, of
Ooh,
course. Gotta be one.
I don't know
okay,
People rip me for that.
that's an odd choice, but I'm with it. I like it.
I don't know.
I think my 3 island songs is how we're calling it. My favorite things by John Coltrane,
Ooh, great
preferably with
choice.
McCoy Tyner. Uh, Trying to think of the personnel, Jimmy Garrison on bass, and like any of the classic quartet. Um, Adore by Prince.
that is the answer, but on the island with the 3, I had to pick When Doves Cry because that's the one that like I played over and over again. But Prince's Adore is his best song he ever did.
I would agree, and the thing about it is like if you're going to sit on an island, just sit and relax, and you like all the time in the world to read all these books, like Burgess Meredith, and your glasses don't crack. And I get to play the 3 songs. My favorite things, Adore, and probably the one that I'm listening to a lot lately is Dream Brother by Jeff Buckley. Like it's about his dad, and like I had a complicated relationship with my dad, so I feel like that's the one that I would probably pick third.
Mm.
Mm, dang.
I hate this question, Dean. I'm sorry.
But no, but you could say you can use Billy Joel for all 3 answers if you need to.
Well, I feel embarrassed. I finally the last person on earth who discovered the Brian Jonestown massacre.
Oh wow.
Oh
Like,
no.
and I've been playing the album, which I forget the name of the album already, but I think it's just self-titled from 2019. I've got a new job where I'm now commuting and going into a place 100% 5 days a week. I have played this the whole CD, like the whole album, literally every single day
Huh.
for like 60 days now. Like, and the first song is called Drained. I was like, where was I? Like, you know what it was? The name of that band turned me off.
Yeah.
I just like I would always imagine their record company going, no, please, don't name it that. But because I always just thought it was like a crazy punk band or something, and they're not. Like it's kind of like the Dandy Warhols, or it's kind of has that vibe to it, which I think they're enemies, actually, the two bands I read about them.
Well,
But Drained, I'm a Tom Petty fan. I'm a Bob Dylan fan. I like jazz. You said Coltrane, Vito. I might do that. Like it'd be hard to do three songs,
Yeah.
really.
Oh, it's not a you can't
Definitive.
stick to the answer. It's not definitive ever. It's more going with your feeling kind of thing.
Right.
Wait, did Eli answer three?
He
I only
answered
got one.
one.
I got Terrapin Station. I might do maybe some John Coltrane too, like from A Love Supreme, the first
Hmm.
part. And I just want to pick long songs so that I have more time with each one on
That makes
this
sense.
island where I've got nothing else to do.
Well, Pharoah Sanders is a fun one
So
too,
good.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of great jam. And Kamasi Washington has been
Oh,
picking up where those guys left off, you know.
dude.
So
Saw him recently. There's a new Blue Note here in LA. And so I
Hmm.
saw him play and it made me cry, straight cry. It was so good. Holy
awesome.
shit.
For a
Yeah.
I
long
know somebody
song,
who
I would
plays
pick
them.
Fela. Fela, like Woman,
Fela, yeah. Oh
some
my
Hmm.
God.
African beat,
Yes.
Sure.
African world beat, whatever it's called.
Yeah. That way
Um,
you got 30 minutes on a
Yeah,
song
yeah.
and then
yeah,
you can
right.
That's
walk
half the
around the
day. You're just
island.
gonna
And,
nap
yeah.
most of the time.
Yep.
Or if you really wanted more Prince than one song, Prince purposely did not. You know how you can like on a record, a vinyl record, it'll be a little dead space between songs, and CDs you can click to the next song. On the Love Sexy CD,
It's all
he
one
made it so
vibe.
you had to listen to the entire thing all the way through. You could not skip to
Wow.
the next song, which is kind of fun.
Good job.
Um,
Do you
I
still
was
need
gonna
one more, Eli? Is that two?
No,
Yeah,
you
I
did
guess I
good.
did Terrapin Station. I did A Love Supreme and then I didn't
Okay.
really say anything else, but I do listen to a lot of Fela. So maybe like Live in Amsterdam, the first track off that again. That's
That's
like
pretty
30
good.
minutes. Yeah.
It's funny, Doug, your late discovery of the Brian Jonestown Massacre is very similar to I discovered Morphine for the same reason that you didn't. I was like, I'm not going to listen to a band called Morphine. And then, what's his name? Mark Sandman, passed away. And I was like, I got to check them out. Like, why is everybody, and I was like, oh my God, like I could listen to this band forever. And now
Yeah.
I totally do.
I
okay.
discovered
So
them from, we used to be able to go in record stores and listen to
Mm,
songs. That's how I found Morphine.
that's great.
Yeah.
so if you had to pick an album though, one
Mm.
album.
One
Now,
album?
for me, it's probably supposed to be Purple Rain, the album, right? It's supposed to be, but it actually might be Saturday Night Fever.
Mm.
That's interesting.
Wow.
The Bee Gees, man,
No,
those
it's not even
five
just the Bee
songs.
Gees. There's Tavares. There's
It's
Ivana.
so many great songs on
Yeah,
that
like
album.
it's a very it it's so of its time that it's very telling that you want to be in 1977. For
But
like
also, those songs are mostly original to the movie, so that's always peculiar to me. Just like when the Godfather movie came out, apparently mafia bosses and gangsters, no one acted like that. Not
Mhm.
really. But after that movie came out, all the gangsters and mafia bosses acted like the Godfather
funny.
because it set such a cool tone, you know. Like, and I feel like Silent Fever wasn't necessarily representing the disco era because of all the disco songs that were coming out. You know, they had some disco-like songs, and then the Bee Gees alone are their own stratosphere.
So
You
many
know,
great songs.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my instinct would be to say Bad Motorfinger by Soundgarden because I do front to back listen to it, but it's not something I want to be by myself on an island with. I want something that's kind of um, relatively mellow, relatively just lends itself to a meditative kind of contemplative thing. So I probably like Kind of Blue by Miles Davis, which has Coltrane playing on it. Maybe even, back to Giant Steps would be another one that I would probably choose over Soundgarden, probably Giant Steps.
Hmm. Fellas,
If I'm on an island, maybe I want to cultivate that sound and feel and the joy that I'm unable to achieve because I'm stuck here. So maybe Bob Marley and the Wailers live or something like that.
I
So
was gonna
that I
say,
can.
or like for me, it'd be like if we're gonna do reggae, I love Lee Scratch Perry.
Mm,
Oh, dude, so good.
Jimmy
Yes.
Cliff.
yeah,
Jimmy
I
Cliff's
would.
great.
I mean, Exodus from front to back is another great album. But yeah,
Max Romeo, oh my God. Do you know Max Romeo, guys?
Mm-mm.
I don't.
Oh, check out Max Romeo. Incredible. So, Doug, you got to give us a record, and then we're going to go to the next thing.
Oh man, yeah. Whew. Maybe like a Led Zeppelin. Like, wasn't there one of them that was a double disc, like number 4 or something?
Sure,
The
I
Cool
do
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Graffiti
High
Yeah,
or
School Graffiti might have been
yeah,
double as well.
yeah,
I think it was.
yeah. Go for
How,
length, Eli. You planted that seed.
like, where are you going to
Four is
plug it
fine.
in? That's the next problem. Where,
Actually, I think last week it had been 39 or 40 years since Prince's Sign of the Times album had come out. And I'm like,
Hmm,
what are you
Wow,
talking
crazy.
about?
wow.
That's a great
Because I
album.
remember getting that record. I'm like it was yesterday. So we have a couple of topics that I know Eli could probably speak to, maybe Doug, but real quick, Vito sent me some comic books a few weeks ago, and one of them was Absolute Batman issues 1 through 5, which is the first arc called The Zoo. Eli, you read it?
I read the first 2 issues, I think.
Okay, and Doug, you probably didn't read
I
them.
stopped reading Batman when I was a kid because I got turned
Hmm.
on to Crumb, that whole thing. So
But
I
wait,
didn't go
what's
back.
after Crumb?
Wait,
Right.
wait, no, wait. How old of a kid were you when you got turned on?
10.
Oh my God.
10. Oh
Hey,
boy.
all
Just a
right.
skinny thing riding
Explains a
on
lot.
big, busted, big bootied women.
Well, and
And
I've told this
Doug at
story.
10
I
was
like
like, yeah,
telling it.
that's my thing now.
Actually got turned on to it by Fritz the Cat, the movie.
Makes sense.
So
Wow.
Dean and Eli probably have heard this, but I was 10 years old. My best friend's mom took us to the drive-in theater. She thought it was an animated kids movie.
Oh no.
And after 5 minutes, there's, whatever happens, fucking and doing drugs and everything. And we begged her to stay, and she let us stay.
That's the best part of the story.
Yeah, and then my friend's older brother had in the basement had a bunch of crumb zaps and big ass and some of those, and it was one of these things. It was like reading a Playboy or something. It was
Yeah,
like,
totally.
yeah.
Totally. My parents took me to see, and they thought it was an animated kids movie. It was called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. No, I'm kidding. No, but my dad did take me when I was 10 years old to, I think, I want to say it was a revival of The Exorcist. And my brother was 9, I'm 10. All this stuff is going down, and um I'm kind of having not PTSD, but like when you're a coping mechanism of laughing, and my brother is weeping and crying the entire movie, and it was so traumatizing. And then like I got into William Friedkin later on, right? And I heard an interview, he was like, "Yeah, that's not a horror movie." It's like, what the
Huh?
hell are you talking about? It's totally a horror movie,
I was really
like,
hoping you would say that your dad was laughing like De Niro in Cape Fear,
oh,
like while you and your brother were just traumatized, like
right. Like
ah,
he was
big
punishing
cigar and
us for like,
everything.
oh, you want to see a movie? Here's a movie, kind of a thing. Anyway, I going to Absolute Batman issues 1 through 5. My quick response is it's a bootleg comic, just like
Yeah.
we were talking about. It's
Mhm.
absolutely a bootleg comic. It's anybody could have who has any sense of history of the characters. It's just like, oh, I'll make Alfred this guy, and I'm going to do something with Commissioner Gordon
That's
this way.
kind of
And
what
I'm
I
like,
thought too.
that's all it is. So if you're
There,
into it, great. Keep playing with the toys, right? Break the toys. I
yeah.
thought it was okay. I gotta say, out of the 5 issues, there was the fourth issue. I was like, what is going on in the fourth issue? Because something changed. I realized, oh,
It's
I
a
like
different
the
artist,
artist well enough, but it was a different artist.
right?
And it was incredible. A guy named like Walenta or Walta or
Mhm.
something, or
Don't
I
know.
don't remember. I don't have the comics in front of me, but I was like, ooh, the art here is really, really cool. But it just feels, listen, I'm gonna be 59 at the end of May. Maybe I should read some Crumb. I don't know. But it was fine. I don't need to read anymore. If I was into it, like I guess but it's kind of weirdly saving the superhero comic book industry. right now, isn't it?
It is. I mean, is that a problem? I feel like that it's good if something is bringing new readers in or something, but is it bringing in a new like speculator thing? Are people buying just more and more of it? Then
You
I
mean
don't know.
just for collector item type of stuff
Yeah, I mean,
versus the
that goes
story?
hand in hand with like a book that's big. You need a story that people can grasp, really good art, but then it also needs like the speculation of it to make it to have the like trifecta of things that make it like
Well, I
successful.
think they
It
went through
seems
4 printings for the first issue, if not
exactly.
maybe
Yeah.
5 even. So I mean that right
Well,
there.
I mean, it. So in a way, it got word of mouth, right? When people are like, "What the hell is this?" It's called Absolute Batman. It could have been called Bootleg Batman because again, and what's weird is that, or what's kind of cool as well, is like it's Scott Snyder, right? So it's like the guy who wrote the quote "Real Batman" is now writing a adjacent Batman, let's call it, right?
Yeah.
But like, and that's cool that he could shift gears like that, and he obviously understands the character very well and has had success with it, and then bringing on funky artists, right? But what it made me think is like, well, why did they let indie guys then? There should be a whole imprint of like, swing a dead cat over your head comics. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Like, just do what you want and see and do an arc or a one shot, kind of like in the spirit of Bizarro World and Strange Tales, and Marvel did their Bizarro
Yes.
with Strange Tales. We just get
Yes.
indie folks to like play with the toys and have fun with it.
I think the fear is that it wouldn't sell though as much as like you
Well,
remember.
because it had Scott Snyder's name driving, it was a driving force,
Right?
right? So, yeah, I guess,
I
and
think Nick Dragotta too, who's like a super hot artist right
Yeah,
now.
and they just
dude,
had a was it in the LA Times or the New York Times? They just had like the return of the superstar artist as an
Yeah,
yeah,
him
article,
and
and it
Daniel Warren
had
Johnson and stuff.
yeah. So
yeah,
there,
yeah,
there's the argument against doing it like an indie production, but I mean, and going to what Eli was saying about speculating and how it goes hand in hand with a best-selling book. We had Nick Papora on here a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how Absolute Batman is totally, or the Absolute line even, is driving traffic into comic stores. So I mean, and it's because the way he put it was it gives a chance to new readers to discover something new that might have existed, but not in the way that it existed. Sort of like the way Ultimate Spider-Man did, sort of like the way maybe even Watchmen, because we knew that it wasn't the Charlton characters, but we found that out later. I don't know. I also, I mean, keep it in mind, Dean, I gave you my books, like I sent
yeah.
those because I was done. Like it was like I get it, I got it now.
Get it on to the next,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, and you also sent me New Gods, which I will read. But actually, since we have Eli here, and we will get into the project that we're mainly here for, but in the spirit of bootleg comics, let's say, or alternative kind of like swinging a dead cat over your head. I feel some of the spirit of Cosmic Lion Productions is it's very punk and hip hop in a lot of ways, comics type stuff. So, and
Yes.
we'll get into a little bit about Cosmic Lion, but Eli, would you have published if you could like a bootleg Batman or like Marty Keane's bootleg Spider-Man? Is that kind of in your purview?
I mean, I definitely got my start with a few different kind of like bootleg things. I mean, we did the Giant Size 63 with Stephen Bissett. We did Image Grand Design, which was like built from that pitch that Ed Piskor did. And then even before that, I did the Ween zine and I did two Ninja Turtle art zines and two that were kind of like taking the sandboxes that we all want to play in and whatever and doing whatever with them. So I would definitely do that. I would have definitely
Right,
worked with Marty Keene on his thing. Like I wonder like did that have an effect on these guys being like what do we need to do? Do we need to reinvigorate this? And Mafu did Arachnid Enforcer and the Batman one that's coming out. I
Defective
can't.
Comics.
Yeah,
or
defective. Yeah,
Fife started with a Suicide Squad, bootleg that then turned
yeah,
into Cobra.
yeah,
So
exactly.
there is success with it, and people do like it because they like the alternative view. And in fact, DC and Marvel have done that in a way. Absolute Batman is just a long running what if,
Yeah, exactly.
series.
And it's kind
Uh,
of like they were like, well, what is everything we know about Batman? Let's write it down that like the main 10 tenets of what Batman is. and then let's just do the opposite of those 10. Let's just
Right.
flip those 10 exactly opposite, and then
Right.
let's go with
Right.
that.
Right. Although the art wise, like, and again, I've only read the first 5 issues. Sorry, Doug. Like, you're just
Okay.
keep writing the back of that big girl, uh, Crumb style. No, but like Batman himself looks like a very large boy, and it was a kind of creepy to me. I don't know why. I thought that was a little disturbing.
Yeah.
So
But I
anyway.
mean, here's the thing. I think the term bootleg is such a there are some people that just can't wrap their heads around it. They think bootleg means cheaper or
fake or not
fake,
real or
less refined. Where
Inauthentic.
we, in our definition and lexicon, bootleg means something a little more punk rock, a little more independent ethos.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
Coming from
Josh
Grateful
Simmons
Dead
did
world, like
what?
I was just saying, coming from this like live music, Grateful Dead, jam band world, bootlegs are the best thing you can possibly get, which is like
Right.
a live recording of a concert that someone did that, it's like, so to me, the bootleg thing was always, I want to get that.
Totally.
Unless you saw What's Happening and you saw what happened to Rerun when he tried to record the Doobie Brothers at his high school. We found out it was the wrong thing to do. So I mean, it gave you the negative connotation for the word. But the positive aspects of it is, you look at like Copra, which I don't know if I necessarily subscribe to it being a bootleg as much as it
No,
is.
it started off as a bootleg.
But I mean, I would still call it more of a pastiche than anything, and it became its own thing, and it like, varying levels of success depending on who's looking at the numbers. I think it was a fairly successful book because it got Mike other work, and it also he got to finish it on his own. So I mean, I think in terms of legacy, it is a finished work. So if it was a bootleg, that is probably one of the more successful ones.
Absolutely. And I was gonna say Josh Simmons did a Batman comic that was great. That in fact, I believe the Zack Snyder movie adopted an idea from him, which was so disturbing, where he's taking chunks of people's flesh with like a bat kind of shape, where it takes a chunk out of and keeps like this like symbol of the Batman, this bloody Batman. And I think Zack Snyder did that in a scene with Batman or something like that.
A brand.
Or a branding kind of thing. Yeah.
Definitely.
So anyway, it's fun. It was fine. And I'm whatever. I barely read Batman. So like this is a Batman comic.
I think it brought a lot of people back to it, even if it's like it doesn't feel like I'm just reading the Caped Crusader again. I guess the same way the like Court of Owls book did or whatever. It flips it on an ear. It flips it on its ear or something, like
totally. So now, and then I want to go to one more thing, and then we'll get into you guys. Again, I don't think you can speak to this, Doug. I apologize. But Vito, can you explain a little bit about what's going on with Filbo? Or maybe Eli can do it better.
I can't, only because I've not like working with Charlie. He's more Charlie McKelvey, who is the publisher of Zion Studios and Blind Squirrel Comics, which publishes Stray as of, I would say, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. when my Kickstarter ends. But I'm mostly on the editorial side, so I don't get to see a lot of the submission process and anything like that. But this Filbo thing, like Charlie posted the like a link to it, and he said this is he had a very weird wording for the way he posted it, and I was like, is this a good or bad thing? He's like, this is an excellent thing. So there's that.
So the idea is that Filbo is a distributor of independent comics, and I think they have 25 publishers, although I didn't see Zion Press on that
because it wasn't in that catalog that Bleeding Cool was covering. Like Bleeding Cool, when they listed the publishers, they're like, these are the ones that are in the catalog this month or for this.
Got it. And he probably wasn't in this month. Okay. Right. Well, anyway, maybe they have more than 25, but
and including themselves. Filbo is also a publisher, so I mean that's got to be said as well.
But what they were offering was also to print the comics, so they print and distribute. And I don't know the quality the print. Is it print on demand type stuff? And print on demand's gotten better in a lot of ways, but I don't know what they're offering in terms of that quality control. But it kind of reminded me of when I first learned about Charlton Comics. Now, Charlton Comics back in the 60s and 70s was basically a one-stop shop. It was a printing and distribution center. And they opened up an office that Dick Giordano was the editor-in-chief of. And, we got comics produced by Steve Ditko and a whole bunch of other folks. Where superhero and horror and anthologies. And what they did is they had a little office, where editorial was, and, they produced the comics, with outside artists and writers. And then next door was the printing press. And then next door to the printing press were trucks that would then go deliver comics, which is such a cool idea, And you could always tell a Charlton comic because it was shoddy printing. Like the cover, like the colors would just come off in your thumb, And then like the pages themselves had still the jagged kind of cut edge. It wasn't like a flat edge. It was very jagged. Are you going to try and find one, Vito?
Yeah, I think I have one right here. Yeah, I do.
But also I like the spirit of that. Yeah, there's an old Captain Adam 12-cent comic. So yeah, 60s to 70s. I think they lasted through the 80s, to be honest.
Yeah, this is Captain Adam number. I don't even think it has a number. It just says no. Oh yeah, number 3.
Number 3.
November.
Awesome.
So
and I remember that. And Charlton was the first comic book that I ever saw in a bag. Like, how they do, I don't know what they are to call today, blind bags or something like that.
Poly bags.
People seem to love mystery purchases these days. I don't know what's going on. But or they just did it with Daredevil. Didn't they just do like blind bag Daredevils with like 100 different covers or something? Yeah, last week. But I remember the first time being at like, I don't know, a giant, big box store, and there was a comic section for Charlton, and there were 3 comics, but you saw only 2 of them, because you knew there's one in the middle,
Right.
And often that one was the real dud, the one that you didn't want, But now in terms of nostalgia, you love all those comics, because back then you're like, oh, these suck, but then you're like, wow, somebody made this, In fact, I think Alan Moore was interviewed this week, and he said something about how nostalgia is bad for comics. Did you read that?
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
That's interesting.
He doesn't. Like, I mean,
Times? Was that in the New York Times?
I think so, yeah. Like, I feel like, the more we ask Alan Moore his opinion on comics, the less I want to hear from him.
I know what you mean.
I mean, and I adore his work. I think we did a like tournament, one of our earlier episodes, we did like a tournament style. We picked the best comic out of like all these ones, and it turned out that mine, like the best comic of all time, according to the way I chose my brackets, was Watchmen. So I mean, I can't say that I dislike Alan Moore.
The work's incredible. The work's incredible, and
but he doesn't care about the culture. He's not
That's
in
exactly
here trying to like.
He's an anarchist. He's an anarchist. He's and a magician.
You say anarchist very funny with your New York accent. You know how we say it over here? Asshole.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
all right, and then
that's how Pittsburgh says it.
Vito, did you have a hot topic?
Well, I wanted to get to you were asking about Philbo, and I think Eli had like something to.
Oh, right. We did. Yeah. What do you think, Eli?
No, I mean, I only heard what I heard, in trying to find a new distributor myself. But I mean, I don't know too much, but I think offering to print the books is an interesting thing. But like, I would never want to give up the quality that I strive for ease or something like that. I think that, yeah, Charlton was like a shitty quality and people liked that. But I think also people like to know that their book is coming
like
out with quality.
Yeah, like the book you did with Doug, or the one with Bob Fingerman.
Yeah. All those, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you put out fine quality stuff, and so that's what I'm wondering. Like, in a way, it just reminded me of Power Pulp. Like, I don't know how discerning Power Pulp, or Power Pulp is not it is a publisher, but it's also a distributor of people who just submit comics that they have printed on their own, right? So it's not like there's one printer they're all going to, right? But
There's not, yeah.
I
But
guess
they're
it's
very
interesting.
discerning when it comes to who they choose is going to be part of the squad. There's like a whole
Absolutely.
voting mechanism within, and
Yeah, yeah. And so that's an interesting kind of like it's interesting what's going on with the collapse of Diamond, how groups of people have rallied, you know.
yeah,
It's also
agreed.
interesting that nothing solid has come out of its wake. Like it's a lot of little fiefdoms
There's
that
not one answer.
right.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, and
Lots
that's
of
great
COVID
because,
groups.
the one thing we didn't want, the one thing we were always talking about whenever we talked about Diamond was it's a monopoly. There's no other, games in town. The only other
Right.
real game in town was Last Gasp, but they were less of a competitor to Diamond than more of like a supplemental thing. You know what I mean? So they like, whereas now with Lunar, with not so much Filbo, but Filbo, like they have 25 publishers, maybe even more that weren't in the catalog that Bleeding Cool didn't mention, including one that we know. There's
And Prana is
Powerful.
the other one
Which one?
Prana is
Prana,
who
yeah.
Now,
I just,
that's
yeah,
you're with I know you did an interview with Adam Freeman recently,
that's right.
talking about your relationship. So can you tell a little bit about Prana?
Yeah, I mean, we just signed with them. They're a aggregator, I think, is what I've been calling it, because they, before Diamond would take on these littler publishers, people who had maybe one or two titles a month, one or two titles a year, or something like that, and they would help aggregate that out. But Lunar does not do that. Like Lunar wouldn't take Cosmic Lion on because we were too small. So Prana picks up these smaller publishers and then acts as the larger entity that Lunar does distribute. So I
Mm.
go through Prana and, we build all these, I just today I was working on like building catalog pages. And so I designed my own catalog pages for their catalog that then goes out to the distributors and they have their own marketing and everything. So they're a whole aggregator that works through Lunar and Universal, I think, and also Diamond UK, which is like completely separate than
Right.
And are
Diamond
they Adam's involved in that print edition? Was it comics? What's it called?
Comics the magazine. Yeah.
Comics the magazine.
Right. That's kind of like their I don't know, like promotional arm. That's their like it definitely feels like Wizard. I was just actually looking through one today. It's got the price guide, it's got the top artists and writers and stuff, and it's got
Oh, funny.
articles and sidebars and stuff like that and stuff. So
Cool.
I like what they're doing. It seems like they've got a marketing edge to it. I like the way Adam is like working with the culture. Like I was saying,
Hmm.
he's not just being like this diamond monopoly entity that everyone seems to hate that but they have to work with. Like I never once met anyone who was like, I love Diamond. They're so great. I love working
Yeah.
with them. They're so nice. Like even when I didn't even know what it was, even when I was like a kid and the lady at the paperback exchange who was also a witch, if we're talking referring back to Alan Moore, um, she was even like, the distributor sucks. I'm dealing with this. And I was like, I'm 10. Do you have the new Turtles? Like, but still, it's like, you know,
Totally.
When Doug was
so
10, he would have asked that lady for Crumb. So, I mean,
yeah, she had
Yeah.
them.
And then as a sidebar, what's trickling out as well is because all these initiatives we're talking about are indie oriented. And then me and Eli were part of like I came in late, but like a town hall IC3 comics artists. What's it, cat? What are the
Yeah,
different? There's
comic
so many.
artists. Yeah, comic art fans is the website, which
Right.
is like this like social media for live art or original art collectors. It's an amazing site, and I've scored tons of amazing pieces of art off there. Original art and
Right.
stuff, and
Right.
so it's really cool. And then IC3 was launched, um, kind of out of the kayfabe cartoonist kayfabe audience, and that's where I met Matt Sardo, and he wanted to put on a Comic Con, and it was going to be in Florida before COVID, and then that put an end to that. And then after it, he kind of came back, and we pitched it to Jim and Ed, and it kind of grew into this other thing, and then it just became what it is. And then comic art fans came in and was like, let's let's quadruple the reach of this.
Mm.
And
So
now they're doing
IC3 is like, humongous.
plotting all these different shows, and it's all original art based, kind of like
Well,
what
it's
I've
not
heard
original
about.
art based like OAX is, but
Right.
IC3 is like an SPX or like a original, like a
Sure.
independent, and the cons that don't have, you're not going to get to meet LeVar Burton and a Doctor Who actor there. You're going to just get OG
But you know what would be in
underground
a Doctor
comics.
Who episode? In a Doctor
LeVar
Who episode,
Burton.
would be a LeVar Burton Comic Con.
That was in one.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, that would be amazing.
But it sounds like,
I just
speaking
want to
of
meet
original
LeVar
art,
Burton.
I was just doing these $100 sketches.
Yeah,
and then
those
Oh.
are sick.
Jim Dugan asked me for a Daredevil, and I had never done Daredevil, so there's a quickie.
That's crazy. You've never done Daredevil.
I know. It's weird.
He showed me a Dark Side the other night, and I was like, "Have you ever done Dark Side?" And he's like, "No."
No.
Wow.
How? Like, how did you never?
I know.
I'm
I
glad
know.
you're selling your original art. I mean, you came to the original art expo without any.
You were sitting next to me when I had a eureka moment, and the
I know.
eureka moment was, I'm going to try and make $20 right now. And I drew a little quick Batman on a tiny little piece of paper, whatever those Matt Sardo
sketch
things,
cards, yeah.
sketch card. And I said, if you have $20 right now, you can get this Batman. And in 30 seconds, someone just threw down $20 and took it. And I was like, yo, what the hell?
58 years old and learning how to sell his work. What a dumbass.
I drew the Thing immediately, and then Dean told me it was horrible, and I just kind of put it underneath.
Guaranteed somebody would have bought it.
I drew a Ninja Turtle, and no one bought it, but the next con I was at, I put it out, and it sold within 10 minutes.
There you go.
That was cool.
No, he drew the Thing. I was like, have you ever
memory.
seen the Thing? Have you ever seen the Thing?
It was the 90s one where he was like extra mutated. Maybe.
He did the same thing to me when we were in the studio many, many years ago. It was Jack Kirby Day, August 28th, and I drew an OMAC. And he looked at it, he goes, "This is great. I don't think you've ever read an OMAC comic, though." And I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, I readily admit that I cannot draw. And he's got to like...
That's your pat insult, Dean? Is that the one you
I guess I'm trending. I'm sorry, guys. I'll try to come up with a new one. So Vito, you did have another one which, if you could unpack a little bit, because for a little hot topic response, what's the Liefeld?
It's so petty. It's just, you know what it is? Somebody posted on Threads. It wasn't even on Twitter, because now Threads is the place to... Everybody left Twitter.
Twitter's dead.
Elon Musk. And now everybody's on Threads being pricks. And so what happened was somebody posted that the Bendis Bagley run on Ultimate Spider-Man is as good as the Ditko Stan Lee run.
Yeah.
That's an opinion. That's perfectly fine to have. And Rob's like, this is a bullshit post. And then
Rob Liefeld basically said that that Bagley and Bendis, it was like adding polish to, or polishing.
They just
redid it. Yeah.
And by the way, real quick, I never read that run, but wasn't that about 100 issues or more? The Bendis Bagley.
Yeah.
And the Lee Ditko is what 38 issues?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they tripled their run with, again, whatever. It's all an opinion. And then Rob Liefeld, but like, how much further did it go? And again, it's a big fat who cares, right?
It's such a big
opinions are what make this all great, and he doesn't respect anyone's,
right,
except his own.
He just like, and he was just doubling down on like a shitty take, and it's like, like Mike Omen.
But then people are talking about it, and we're talking about it, and it's just like,
but we're talking about it, saying that it's barely anything worth talking about. Like once you start really looking into it, because what you do is you see those two names, and you're like, oh, they're two prominent creators in the comic book industry, and they're fighting, even though Bendis hasn't even weighed in on anything. Like, so it's hardly a fight. It's more like some dude yelling across the hall.
But then I guess the thing that's messed up, and besides us talking about it and saying it's a nothing burger, is that the fact that it gets headlines, and like this is the headline at Bleeding Cool or any kind of comics website. But meanwhile, we have a new book that just launched, and we're trying to get some traction with that.
Well, yeah, that's
And the
Don't
book
care.
you're ending your campaign in 24 hours or less. And
right.
where are we at right now with that? What's your number now?
My number is we are at $3,832 of a $2,000 goal. So we're about 190%, 192% funded. With 24 hours to go, 113 backers. I mean, I'm very proud of what we've done.
Absolutely, man.
It's phenomenal, especially on it wasn't a 30-day campaign, it was a 24-day campaign, so it's a little bit shorter.
Mhm.
We still were able to fund it relatively quickly, and like all I want to do is just keep making more of them. So this is at least one in the can. Dean Haspel told me I have to put out 3 books this year. This is one.
Yeah, keep going. And speaking of Batman bootlegs, you have one in the hopper as
I
well.
do. Just got to
So,
finish making it. And hopefully this goes towards making that. This
Eli, we should do. Me and Vito have talked about this. We should do a bootleg uh tome, right? Like, how many pages is your Batman, Vito?
12, somewhere between 8 and 12.
12, like 8 to 12 page, whatever. Do 10 of these in one big fat book, and we'll get a Spider-Man, we'll get a Batman, the big names, the big shots. We should talk about that.
That'd
Kind
be
of
fun.
curating, because people will be into that, I think, because I think it's part of our culture now more than ever.
Especially now.
Yeah, exactly.
Doug and
These are just
Eli, that's my
archetypes.
daughter, by the way. Not my. That's her office. This is my office. So.
Nice.
Hey,
Oh,
Do we like my shirt, guys?
I love emo
I love
boys.
Emo Boy.
All right, what's an emo in 2026?
okay. Now you're on the hook.
Because it's my intervention of doom and despair. Okay, because I'm better. Okay.
Wait, but wait, what kind of a doom and despair boy? Like, what music do they listen to? Let's put it that. Is it My Chemical Romance or something? Please don't say that.
I don't know.
How about the album that Vito likes?
What?
Black Hole Sun, whatever that guy.
Soundgarden.
Soundgarden.
Probably. I'm gonna draw you guys a picture. You guys keep talking.
Oh, she's grabbing the stray. She's grabbing the stray that you did the cover for.
I'm gonna draw you guys a picture, okay?
Draw a picture of the boy.
While we
Okay.
keep talking.
No, not.
Why don't we get a little? Well,
Okay. You're about to get the best fan art ever.
all right. Thank you. Wow. Let's get a little origin from Doug. Doug, for the people who are listening to our podcast that have never heard of you, where do you come from? Who are you?
oh, I feel a little bit like I'm a drummer in a band, or not currently, but I mean I played the drums. And when I joined a band one time when I didn't know how to play the drums yet, I kind of had that feeling of this conversation a little bit, like this idea that drummers are people that hang out with musicians. Like I'm a writer who hangs out with these really big time comic nerds, could just go on and on and on about it. So,
But you're an editor, so you're as much. What's his name? Not Brian Epstein, the other guy.
I'm sorry.
from
Jeffrey Epstein?
Not Jeffrey Epstein. The Beatles, the producer, George Martin.
Brett, yeah.
yeah, George
As much
Martin.
George Martin as you are Ringo is what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. But I'm a guy who loved comics as a kid, like I mentioned, then kind of just didn't do anything for my whole kind of adult life until about 15 years ago. I worked in media. I like had kind of not quite 9 to 5, but almost. And I just needed a creative outlet and started writing. My mentor is Josh Neufeld. I rarely tell my origin story without mentioning Josh. And he encouraged me. I had this incredible person, like almost sort of as my personal editor, like, instead of taking classes with him or with Dean or something. And so then met up with Gideon Kendall. Gideon was coming off of like lousy animation jobs and was really frustrated and wanted to do like adult comics. And we're like brothers, like we were like long lost brothers. He's an amazing human being, as you guys know, and an incredible artist. And so Wait It Gets Worse is something we've been doing for 15 years now or something. We've got about 250 pages of comics. And then I met Dean through Josh. Dean and I have known each other now probably 15 years, 14 years, something like that. I actually took your class of yours, which we just kind of talked about at Mocha. It was like a writing class. And I still remember, and you never remember this conversation. We rode the train home, and Dean was given, like, I was like, yeah, I'm not a superheroes fantasy horror guy. I'm more into, what I'm into, with, autobio, the undergrounds and nonfiction. And you kind of told me, I forget exactly how you said it, but like superheroes are more real than nonfiction stories, something like that. Do you remember? I don't know if you, and it
I
just
think,
always stuck with me.
well, in a way, um, it's about the emotional stuff, like
Right.
I feel like when you tell a real story, a real life story, you're beholden to time, culpability, what really happened. It's harder to, unless they have this moment where they're thinking about a fantasy, then you can get into any mode, right? Any genre. But it's beholden to reality in a lot of ways, and I get a little tired of that. I read comics often to escape, not to totally see myself in there. I want to
Yeah,
see other things.
sure.
So um I do believe that, like, genre, I won't just say superhero, but genre of all kinds, the heightened versions of true life stories is what I feel is more true,
Yeah,
more emotionally true is probably what I said.
yeah. Which that really helped me.
That's awesome.
It's my wonderful illustration, okay? You guys should hire me.
Now, but wait, that's the kind of boy you like?
No,
That's
it's a stray.
Oh, that's Stray. Oh, that's
Hire
pretty
me.
good.
Hire
Like
me.
a Yeah, well,
Don't
talk
fund
to your dad.
me. Let's have a little chat.
No, no, we're in the middle of something.
No, we're learning
If you
about Doug
guys
here.
knew, this happens every episode.
Well, like occasionally.
Yeah.
So I'm nice about it. James isn't.
Yeah,
He's a freaking
he's sick though. He's not feeling well.
in the head. Yeah.
Anyway, so but Doug, what was your first written, I don't want to say assignment, but like your first written published work?
Oh, it's interesting. It's funny. It was a nonfiction story that became like a horror story. It was the time and it plays like a horror comic almost. And that was the beautiful thing about sort of what you could do with nonfiction. You could still make it, something like a genre type of a story. It was a story about the weekend Michael Jackson died,
Hmm.
and my 4-year-old daughter had seen Thriller about 100 times that weekend because we had CNN on the whole weekend, taking in all the Michael Jackson news. And she asked me the question, Daddy, what would happen if a werewolf got in the house? And I just decided to kind of mess with her a little bit. And I was like, well, is there a full moon? I don't know. I said, well, if there's a full moon, he's going to have superpower. He's going to be able to like rip my neck open and eat my lungs. And so anyway, I didn't go into that much detail with my 4-year-old because people who don't know me, when they read the story, they're like, how could you do that to your daughter? And it really speaks to the power of images and words together because Gideon is like, Doug, I have an idea about this one. I did not envision the story. And he's literally showing a werewolf ripping my lungs, apart and eating my chest. That's where it becomes a horror comic when it's actually a nonfiction comic. And so that was the first story we did together and self-published. It was something that we did. We did 6 issues of Wait It Gets Worse, and that
Hmm.
was the very first story.
That's
Um,
cool. That's
yeah,
cool.
I love telling
So
that
so
one
do
too.
you did you like, when you kind of got back into comics by making comics, did you, and I don't know this answer because we've been tied to the hip on this project we're going to talk more about, but do you go to the comic shop?
Oh, you want to know something? I was at one this morning actually. I do go. So I'm not going to talk long. I got a new job at a clubhouse for mentally ill people, and I'm helping build. I've been in podcasting the last 10 years. I'm building out a podcast studio and a music studio. And what the staff does there is they do these little workshops. And I decided, like, what else can I do beside podcasting and maybe music because I play the drums. And I did a podcast talk today. I'm sorry, I did a comics toss today about writing comics. And so I did go in this morning before because I didn't have to go to work till 11 today. I did go in to actually get a few superhero comics that I wanted because I wanted to lay out a bunch of comics, on the table for people to check out. And so I did buy, a new
But in this
Superman.
case, what did you choose? Like what?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Oh,
You know what
all
is I
due
went
respect.
after the kind of stuff that I read as a kid was Batman and Superman. But and I got this for you, Dean. Like I got a
Fantastic Four
fantastic
number
Oh,
one.
I had that growing up.
yeah.
Thank you.
And the guy kind of crinkled his nose when I asked about Fantastic Four because the owner was helping me out. He goes, "Yeah, Fantastic Four is not much of a thing anymore." That's what he said. Um,
Well,
Not
but
according to
I
this
mean
me.
is
that's
Absolute Batman. That's one of the
okay.
ones I got. And by the way, this is a clubhouse like the one I work at. I work at
Fountain
something called
House Comics. That looks
yeah, it's
interesting.
yeah, it's called Element. Where I work is called Elements House.
Hmm.
Fountain House is kind of the Mac Daddy of clubhouses in New York City. There's about 10 of them. And this is the second edition. They've created this comic and it's all kind of true stories, although there's some because it's people with serious mental illness, right? They're very
Hmm.
functional, but they kind of get through life as they do. This is like the clubhouse is a place to go during the day for them and sort of tap into their creative energies and photography and art. And in this case, I'm going to be the podcast guy. So that was one
That's
of the
so
things.
cool. And it's funny, before we started this conversation, I was invited to I'm in Red Hook, and I was invited to a Red Hook artist gathering at a bar. And I have keep saying I'll go and I don't go because it's from 6 to 8. And I'm like, I'm not ready to leave the studio till 10 the earliest, like. And so I'm like 6 to 8. How you done at 5:30? You're not making art. You're not an artist if you're done at 5:30, like
Right.
you fraud. Anyway, I get to the thing, tons of people. I know some of them. I don't know most of them. I'm only gonna be there for like a half hour before I bike back here to talk to you guys. And I sit next to a woman and this older lady, and it turns out that that's she lives nearby. The one who's more like younger than me, but a woman, and then that's her mother, and she's visiting, and I said, she asked me, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I make comic books." She goes, "Oh, I make comics." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You make comics? That's really cool." And she goes in her bag and pulls out a published comic that she self-published. Like sometimes you hear that and you think that, in our business, you think everyone that makes comics. People are making comics all over the place, man.
Yeah.
Like we have the tools. We don't feel, no, when I say we, I'm talking about globally. People don't feel as intimidated as when I was a kid. And I thought, oh, I have to learn how to draw Batman or Green Lantern or, the Fantastic Four, right? In order to make comics. And then you discover, and then there's Archie. And I never wanted to make Archie, even though I did work with Archie. But then you discover American Splendor, Yummy Fur, Crumb, and all that stuff, right? And suddenly you're like, your head explodes because you're like, wait, I thought comics were this, but they're everything, you know?
Yeah.
And yet, when I was a younger person, comics weren't cool, right? You kind of were a nerd and you made fun of because you still read comics and you're growing up now and hitting puberty and everything else and you still like comics. You're an idiot, right? Like, but it got cool once Alan Moore and Frank Miller rocked Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns, and there's Art Spiegelman's Mouse and it's getting awards and it's making money and then IP for movies, and suddenly everyone's like, "Oh, I wanted to be a cartoonist when I was a kid." I was like, "You're lying," but okay, fine. Like, but then what's the real cool thing is you meet other artists and we learn to go how to go to a printer, and maybe we're signing up for a distributor, like it's crazy. And in some ways, Eli, how did you start off becoming a publisher? Were you a cartoonist first?
Yeah, I mean, I've been cartooning. I like as you were going down that list of things right there, my brain just went to all these different things. But I think because I'm ADD, my brain was like, "Is American Tail a ripoff of Mouse?" Like
American Splendor,
anybody?
you mean, or American
No,
Tail?
American
Well, the
Tail, the
Fievel,
cartoon.
the Fievel
Fievel.
cartoon. I don't.
Yeah, did Fievel rip off Mouse?
I don't think so. I don't think Fievel has anything to do with Nazis. But
No, it's all Nazis. The whole thing is No, I guess it's not Nazis. It's the Jewish American tale.
Right, right. Like,
Okay, all right. It's just Jews, all right, in New York City. Okay, all right. So yes, I've been making comics my whole life, Dean. I was, making Ninja Turtle drawings, and maybe sure, maybe I have this book right next to me that
I
chronicles
think
my
I remember you
life in
showing me that over there.
comics. Like, but I made these Ninja Turtle drawings when I was a kid.
Oh, awesome.
To you know,
I love it.
I've been drawing my whole life, and comics were always nerdy, and it was always nerdy, but I always didn't care. I wore it on my sleeve. I would draw my friends in gym class, or we'd be in the basement of my friend's house in high school getting high and drinking, and I'd draw everyone on the table, or I would, draw the English teacher, the Spanish teacher for making fun of me because I never saw a Christmas Story before and stuff.
You're reminding me the power of being able to draw among your friends. It was like a
Yes,
secret weapon,
it
you
was a
know, like
secret weapon. Yeah.
you
And
could like
because
make fun of the teacher, make fun of your friends, make fun of the
yeah,
bully.
oh yeah.
yeah,
I
totally.
did that so much because you could draw some shit that just happened and then fold it up and pass it around, and people would be dying laughing. They'd be like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Nothing. Nothing." And the
Hmm.
paper's like,
Hmm.
yeah, and so I did that all through high school and middle school, and I have these great memories of I had this character Jester Man, and I wrote this one called Grammar Guys, which is really dumb, about these characters who would turn into like colons and semicolons and exclamation points and bounce around and
That's
edit
awesome.
people's lives and shit. But like before, before middle school, there's this, we would all have to come in and we'd sit in the cafeteria before, while the teachers were like getting ready, and I would have these stapled comics that I made. For some reason I didn't know about photocopying or anything, even though like my dad at his work had this photocopying machine where I would blow up comic
Hmm.
books to 11 by 17 and put all over my walls, but I never even thought about photocopying my comics. But I would have these hand stapled drawn comics, and I'd be on the ground and everyone would be on these tables, and I'd be reading my comics, and like, so I just made comics. It's been my whole life. And then
Well,
I
speaking of
started,
the Xerox machine, just to quickly respond to
yeah,
that, my mother worked at the New York State Council of the Arts, and she became the deputy director and was there for like 30 years. But she had a Xerox machine, and once in a while I'd visit, and I would Xerox to make my comic official by copying it and multiplying it. Then it felt like a comic book. Part of being a comic book isn't just the original art;
yeah,
it's the reproduction of it.
Yeah.
That's what
yeah,
makes it a comic book,
100%.
right?
And be
And
able to
then
pass it out. I wish I would have figured that out as a
yeah,
kid.
right. And then you're passing out at school. And in fact, I have a guy, a friend who shows up from that was a classmate in junior high or whatever, and he always teases me. He's like, "I got that issue of Mercenary #1," and I'm like, "I don't have that. I might have
Yeah.
the art somewhere, but I want to see the bad Xerox version of it. And we're talking about crappy like gray. It's not black. It's gray.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
and but that was part of the shtick. And then once in a while, I'd hand over my mom artwork, and she would bring back, and then I'd just be stapling them on the side, whatever. But like that's just a whole part of it is the reproduction is what makes it a comic book.
100%. I w- and
So how do you get
I
to publishing other people though?
Well, I did my own comic for a long time, Monkey Lion. It's an intergalactic Afro funk band on tour through the galaxy, and that's like what I did for a long time. And that's where I started at the cons, and I did. I think the first one I did, the first con I ever went to, I started volunteering at cons because I learned you could get in free and then meet people. And so Mocha was the first one I ever did that. 2004, I was living in New York City, and I went there and I met Jim Mahfood, who was my favorite artist then and is a friend now. And I volunteered at his table and got drawings. And then I volunteered at Chicago, Wizard World Chicago, and met Margot Kidder and spent a whole day with Margot Kidder. And it's just like you
Who
do
just
these.
passed, right?
She passed
Couple
a few
years
years.
ago.
Yeah.
Oh, who am I thinking
So
of?
I was doing all that, and then I did like Tampa Bay Comic Con. I did cons in like hotel ballrooms and stuff, selling my own books. And then it was after the Turtle Zine, the Ween Zine, and then working with the Cartoonist Kayfabe fan group there, because I started pretty much started the Facebook group because I saw that they were making their show about Wizard, and I
Mm-hmm.
had already done the Ween Zine and the Turtle Zine, and I was like, I had the realization that like, okay, get this fans together and we'll make our own issue of Wizard and we'll send it into them and maybe they'll do it on the show. So then I started working with those people, and then it was this perfect storm of that and COVID and the fact that Cartoonist Kayfabe, the fan base of that was all like super heady, super like deep ass cartoon comic book fans and creators. And it wasn't just like I'm here for Batman and Spider-Man. They were like, I'm here because I want to turn you on to Yummy Fur and Peep Show
Right.
um and everything else. So then COVID happened and I started we would hang out all night and I thought everyone was drinking, but I think it was only me. And I would like drink a ton of whiskey and we would draw and talk and like it just became this thing. And then Wizard happened and then Wizard 2 and then Image Grand Design. And then through all that, I met all these insane creators. And then I was just like, what's the next move after that? I'm just going to publish everyone. And
Wow.
it just came out of that.
I was in
But
Wizard
what
too.
you're in Wizard?
Yeah, that's where I met Doug. I met Doug through Ben Granoff, my good friend who we do the Grendel cast with.
Right.
And yeah, that all
That's like
Doug's
150 episodes now, right? The Grendel
yeah,
podcast.
it is. Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
the last one, Ben couldn't be there, and our guest host was Matt Wagner himself.
Matt Wagner. That's
We're
awesome.
at that
Wow.
point.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, and that's where I met Doug. And one of the first books I published was Wait It Gets Worse. That was the biggest one. That was the first big book that we did.
Wow. I
So
did
it
not
started
know
off
that.
as a community thing, like almost like a posse, right? And like
Yeah.
just like when I did Activate online in 2006 on LiveJournal, and picking 7 people one day a week, we had 7 comics going, and then it expanded. But it was kind of a communal gesture, kind of like,
100%.
oh, we get to hang out with each other online and then in person and all that stuff. But then you took the next leap, which is to deal with distribution, printers,
Yeah.
schedules, design. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I definitely asked that question now for sure. Yeah.
And I'm sure you
I
get
don't
a
know.
lot of submissions. I'm sure you get, now you're a
lot.
publisher,
Oh
right?
yeah. Every
So
day they come in. And
yeah.
I have people that send them nonstop all day, every day.
I'm
To the
sorry.
Vito. It's a lot, and I just try to like stay true to like the vision that I have and like I want to make the comics that I wanted to read, but I also want to follow the business, and we started a manga line because that's what's selling and that's what's huge. And I hired someone who knows manga to like operate that, and to work with that with me. And and now I'm finding that the things that I love, like which is book design and which is hanging out with a creator and doing that stuff, it's like I can't even concentrate on that stuff when I'm sitting with Tony Wolf laying out this amazing protest book that he has.
Right.
That my brain can't even think of that because I'm like, I have to enter 20 books in the IPG catalog and I have to make these things and I have to send this stuff off to the print run and I'm going to have to max out my credit card again. And then I'm going to have to do this. And then
So this is a full-time job now. This is your job.
this is my job. And I'm in this studio now that I pay for so I can get out of the house and be able to have a work-life separation, which I'm
Mhm.
sure you understand. You're at your studio. It's like,
I practically live in my studio versus my home. Yeah, it's crazy, and I think I admire you, man. And I think in a way, maybe all of us, at least here, and a lot of cartoonists, especially these days, these entrepreneurial days, probably think, oh, I should just be my own publisher. Fuck everybody else,
yeah.
And you do start off with yourself, and then you start publishing your friends, and then it becomes, oh, I can get a name person that will help elevate the company,
Mhm.
and maybe somebody who's sick and tired of working with other publishers or their old draconian ways of publishing, and everything is changing and the economy is changing, and the Kickstarter economy alone, Kickstarter comics, I'll call it.
Yeah.
It's the Kickstarter age,
Yeah.
of comics.
It's crazy. I was just with Bob Fingerman, another amazing creator that we published, and we were at his warehouse. I'm about to open a back issue bin, Bob Fingerman, because I have now tons of uh, his comics that I to kind of move the
Hmm.
and so like he was saying that his book got canceled. Why is my brain not working?
Wait,
What
you
was
don't mean
his
minimum wage?
minimum wage? God damn it!
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
Bob. My brain.
Yeah, yeah.
So minimum wage got it wasn't the trade wasn't finished at Dark Horse because it only sold 10,000 books.
Wow.
That like and at this point selling 10,000 books is like fucking huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Like I would kill for that.
Yeah,
I'm trying to sell out 250 print
yeah.
runs,
Right,
and
right.
like, like it's just crazy how much it's changed the business. I don't know where
Hmm.
I'm going with this, but
In
No, no,
general,
it's
it
like,
has,
yeah,
and so like I mean, but you're constantly having to deal with this and learn with it, and we haven't even
yeah,
discussed promotions, which is very frustrating.
yes,
How to promote because we're all doing the grassroots efforts, of using social media and hoping that that the popular comic book websites will pick up on this stuff and knowing
yeah,
when to send it and when to are you doing interviews for this or who gets an exclusive and then hoping that it'll move the needle and then what are the big business companies that could talk about it,
yeah.
what's the business angle on it on an idea
Well, and
and
there's only
constantly.
so much this side can do,
Yeah,
and then there's this other side. And
right.
they do all this back stuff and they set it up and they get it going, and then the people on this other side who work these websites are like, well, actually, we have to do it tomorrow. And then actually, there's this. And then even though
Hmm.
you set this up a week before, now there's this. And
It,
we're at 96 backers and we have 28 days to go.
so Vito just put up the Kickstarter for Real Life Comics Only in New York, which is a book that me and Doug co-edited and co-curated that Eli is publishing. And
Tell me
uh
about, because I've been wondering this. You
mhm.
and Doug had this idea before it even got to me, before you even brought it to me.
So
So
Doug, you talk about
how did
that.
that start? How did you guys
yeah.
start this?
Well, I had been working with Gideon for maybe 10 years at that time, just on my comic, and I wanted to try to do something different, branch out. And I really always kind of wanted to work with Dean. And so I brought him the idea. Now it's about it was before COVID. And then Dean got us a big time lunch with a big time editor, really nice person. I won't say names, but who was really encouraging us, had ideas for us, thought of a series, like was really exciting for me. First time to maybe get published, like not, beyond self-publishing. And then it just never happened. And then COVID happened. And so it's funny, Dean, you asked me this the other day. I don't remember what, like, it just felt like it was ready to bring up the idea again. We were through COVID. This goes back now 2 years or
Yeah,
so
you
now.
brought it
We
back.
started
You
talking.
brought it back alive, and I remember. I don't remember if I asked you that day you uh revived it, but in maybe a little bit later, I was like, wait, why did you decide to bring this back? Well, part of I think of it is because you had been had published with Cosmic Lion and Eli, and
Yes.
you probably had been bitten by the bug. You had the itch, I think, to do some more stuff. And because
Yeah.
we had this project that was basically all written out, it was just really the idea was there, which is, by the way, the most obvious idea ever. Are you kidding
Right.
me? No one's done a New York comics anthology proper. I mean, they must.
You know,
I mean, there are New York comic based anthologies.
well, I mean, to me, like this is the first one I can remember since the 9/11 ones. You know what I mean? Like since
Sure.
Heroes
Wow.
won the
And that's going to
9/11.
be 25 years this year.
Yeah.
Like,
So I mean,
yeah.
like it's my question is, are you prepared to do an only in Chicago or an only in LA or an
That's a
only
good
in
question.
Boston?
Me
Like
and
I
Bob
could
were
see this
talking about
being
yesterday, Real Life Comics meeting your heroes, because he was
oh
telling me about he met Mobius and he farted and said better out than in, and I was like, that's the best story I've ever heard in my life. So like,
I can contribute to that one too.
Well, and to answer that, Vito, we have, of course, discussed
It could be
that.
real life comics who farted, and it'd
who
just be all fart
farted? Just
stories.
oh god, I'm down. I'm so down for that. That'd
And
be
you're just
amazing.
waiting. You know that the fart's coming, but when?
Yeah. hoof-hearted.
Yeah. Well, and so we're thinking of ways to keep the real life comics
Yeah,
sort of thing going, and but maybe not a geography,
Mm.
that's what I
unless
was telling Bob. Yeah.
yeah, and listen, Eli, unless you really want to do LA, I don't know if I would be involved. I mean, I would be happy to be involved, but I just feel like you kind of have to live in the city or to know
Yeah, but is
people.
there any other city that is like the third character of the story like New York is? Like, is there any other city that is like a
I would argue
character?
LA,
I would say LA probably.
Maybe LA and maybe Chicago, sure, Blues Brothers.
I
maybe
have one
Chicago.
idea.
Yeah. You
One
got an
one
idea?
idea that because my wife is from Nashville, and I
Mm.
thought that there it could be like Nashville could be maybe interesting.
Yeah, and like I kind of mentioned it kind of like as a joke, but I like Austin is another city, like not Dallas, not
Right.
Houston or anything, but Austin is another city that I think you can get a lot of fun stories from.
Yeah.
I feel
But I
like
would
a
also
trade
say,
for. Oh, go ahead, Doug.
well, I was going to say real quick. I mean, let's say we license, because me and Doug created it, the real life comics, and we did think the caveat is only New York, right? So then future caveats would be like in LA, Chicago, whatever, right? So what I think Eli could do with our blessing, if we didn't want to be involved, is to get editors that are appropriate per region. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If this blew up
Yeah.
and became a thing and a series, it's
Right.
right there. And then me and Doug just sit back and just make all the money, like.
It's like
We'll
a
discuss the deal for sure.
but
what's that
but
affiliate marketing? It's like affiliate marketing. What
I
do they
think
call
so.
that?
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
I
why I
mean,
thought like expanding beyond a regional thing, you could include more people
Yeah.
because a citywide, I feel like we could do in issues for
sure, sure.
those smaller cities or whatever.
yeah.
Burlington, Vermont is a place I lived. That would be cool. There's lots of stories there,
Philly, I
but
think Philly has some
Philly,
stories,
yeah, but are those
definitely.
40-page issues or are they
Right, are they
200-page trades?
216?
Yeah,
Right. But I do think the real life comics lends itself to themes, and I know Doug has some theme ideas, and I could probably think of something or whatever. But like, we're open. We're all open to it. Let's see how this does first.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Speaking
and
of
I know that.
Bob Fingerman's art right here on the screen right now.
Did you know that when Bob Fingerman was little, he was Dondi?
We've mentioned this before.
What's Dondi? Am I too
My
young to
God.
get this
Oh,
reference?
come on. You don't know Dondi?
The
Do yourself a
Dondi?
favor right now. Look up Dondi.
I'll do
It
it.
was Irwin Hasen, and I forget who the writer was. And it was about a little immigrant boy. It was
Oh,
a
I
very
see.
sad comic strip.
Yes.
And it's
This
Bob
is
Fingerman as a
100%.
kid.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember Dante. Yeah,
Holy
that's
shit.
familiar.
Yeah, I did not
I
remember
actually
that.
have a piece of Dondi's. I have one of the strips that Irwin
He met
signed.
Erwin Hasen at a
Oh,
convention
God.
that we were like we got blizzard into a New York Comic Con. It wasn't New York Comic, Big Apple Comic Con.
Big Apple.
Like we were
Yeah.
stuck there. There was nobody showed up, and Irwin was there. I think Jerry Robinson was there too. And Dean and I were sitting next to each other, and we are just like, we're going to go bother Erwin Hasen for like an hour.
that was
And
another
little
one of the
did I
first-
know, at the time that he was the co-creator of the Fox that I would later
Yeah.
go on to write and draw.
He was
So,
the co-creator of Wildcat, which is
Yep.
brought me to him stuff. So
Oh yeah, one of the best.
That was a syndicated strip too, like in newspapers.
Oh,
Dondi,
yeah.
When I was a kid, Dondi frightened me. I can't explain why, but I was literally like, I would pass through it whenever I saw it in the paper. Like,
He had Michael Myers eyes. He had black eyes.
Or like
You know,
those button eyes, like in
yeah, like buttons. Yeah. So you're scrolling through some of the artwork here, which we've added since the Kickstarter started.
Okay. Did you need to
as
point
advised.
that out? Okay. All right.
Oh, sorry. So sorry. But also we have a great video that shows a softcover uncorrected proof of the entire book to show people that the book is done.
here, let me
know?
go ahead and play that. I don't know.
It will be hardcover though, so in your brain,
It's a
in your mind's
hardcover,
eye, yeah.
and I think playing it is probably a waste because it's just going to play some jazz, and then people need to.
Oh, you don't like jazz, Dean? What's the matter?
No, I do, but
Well,
I
you
think.
already.
Do you think that people will be able to see this? I
Yeah,
guess if you're
it's fine.
watching
They
the
can
YouTube.
go to the Kickstarter page and play it themselves. It's
But also, you have a story in here, Vito.
I do. with Steve Walker. And funny enough, my daughter, who you saw here a few minutes ago, she's in the very last panel of that story.
That's right. So
Awesome.
here's a question, and then you can answer and you can talk about your story. This was something that me and Doug were struggling with, and maybe even with Eli as well. What makes a New York story?
If you're asking me, I think it's kind of the grandeur of what New York is versus the kind of pedantic everyday life that you live against that big like Hollywood movie screen almost.
Mhm.
Like it's such a huge place. My favorite part about like the cover, by the way, is that it it's so easy to have like used the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building as like the landmarks to say New York, but I think using the Flatiron Building is such an understated, easily recognizable building for New York that I think it lends itself better almost to kind of pulling it away from those two big landmarks because people work in the Flatiron Building. There's a park right there that has a Shake Shack. You know, like
Yep.
it's like a very real like this part of the city is a very real kind of real place. So to me, it's like it's not about the sightseeing. It's not about the grandeur of like if you could make it there, you can make it anywhere. It's hey man, I survived one or two things in my life, and this is where it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love that description, Vito.
Mhm.
And it really was kind of like to go along with that is it feels like an only in New York kind of building.
Yeah,
I think I'd read a story about a building in India or something that's like a triangle building in India, like, and it's called the Flatiron Building.
hmm,
Like it's something that's become, a thing and obviously recognizable and sort of unique, even though there are other triangle buildings around the world. Like the Flatiron's kind of the leader or whatever, like the first one or something.
And it's
Um,
still classic New York. There's a lot of new buildings that are the new skyline of New York, but
yeah, the
that is
glass.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Or, if you're look in Chelsea looking up, you see that building that's like looks like the Avengers building or
hmm.
whatever. And there's the sky, the High Line, and there's all this other stuff, but that is old New York. And I feel like a New York story, if I may, sorry, go ahead, Doug.
Oh, oh no, go. I go ahead, Eli.
Just like a New York story is there's only things that happen in New York which are these spur of the moment, like in strange buildings that shouldn't actually house the thing that you're doing. There's a classic story in my family because I was there when the night my like cousin met her husband, but it just so happened that a random assortment of people came to an apartment, and then a random assortment of people went to this like insane like nightclub at like it's like First and First or something. So it's like, and it's just these weird things that happen, and like you go to the all night rave that's in the basement of a meat factory, and it's these weird things that other cities just don't have.
Right.
It's funny, like you are talking about like these cross sections that happen. That kind of is what makes a New York story, those crossroads, right? And the only
Yes.
other time I felt, and I haven't traveled a lot, okay, I've gone to California and I've been in Austin, but I do remember specifically thinking, wow, New Orleans is weird. Like it reminds me of when New York gets weird, like
Yeah.
and I mean that in a good way, like I love it. And like that anything goes, that feeling of anything goes, and I'm sure that can happen in Michigan and anything goes depending on where you are, what kind of night you're having. And that was one of our describers was like, if you told me a story and then you said it happened, if it could have happened in Michigan, then it doesn't feel as much like a New York story,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it would have to be maybe a certain type of person and a certain type of area, a certain time of day, and what are the crossroads that are happening at the same time to make it. And that doesn't mean that every story has to be insane, like or
No.
death defying or something like that. But we knew, and people would submit stories, and sometimes we'd be like, nah, I don't think that's a New York story. Like it's a story, but it may not be like the one we're looking for the book.
The kind
Do
of
you remember?
Oh, go ahead.
Do you remember early on, we had a conversation, and I was really hooked on like sort of crazy encounters that happen in New York that
Mm-hmm.
might really only be 20 seconds or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And remember, and I was just really remember sort of getting vehement about that or whatever, like kind of, and there are several stories in the book that like that. My book, actually, my story is really about a 25-second encounter in an elevator. But it's with a really famous person. And so that's kind of like that probably could only happen in New York. I mean,
We fought over the Ramones story in a way, because I was
I was
like,
gonna say the same.
yeah,
like I kept thinking, I don't get it. Like, I don't want to spoil the story, but I kept thinking, okay. And like I felt like it needed a little bit more context. And then what really helped for me, and this is where the power of comics comes in, is Charles Featherall, his artwork just sealed the deal.
Hmm.
Like I
so
went,
good.
oh, now I can see it.
Well,
Like I couldn't see it in the text.
well, and to tell our listeners and to talk about the story, it's a time when someone went. This is a friend of mine who's actually new to comics, but he went to a post office in the village, and all four Ramones were online in front of him. And so to me, too, that's like that truly could only happen in New York. And then remember, Dean, we found out that Jared found out, and he's a big Ramones fan, that they were never together except when they were on stage or maybe rehearsing, right? So that's just
So it's a
another like
rare
that's a little
sighting. But to
yeah,
me, I kept thinking, but where's the story? Like, and we would fight over what is a story,
yeah.
like sometimes. And then yeah, I don't know. Just like this was a constant, like, what makes it a New York story, and how, and
Right,
like why, and like, and also because we're anticipating the reader, like the
right.
reader picking it up and going, what the hell, that could have happened in Michigan, or oh wow, I can't believe that happened in New
Well, and
York.
Vito, to answer your question real quick, in my editor's note, I kind of say we did really bat this around a lot and consider these questions. And on some level, we're making an editorial decision, really seriously. On some level, like, yeah, this feels like a New York. This is like a New York story, where technically it could have happened in L.A. or Chicago or in an elevator in Boston or something, but it's just like it's about the velocity of these interactions
Hmm.
and just the rarity often or the celebrity of the person or like, you just kind of combine all these factors and I think I'll speak for myself like that's what makes it a New York story. So
I
And also,
go
I borrowed something from Vito's story, and it's in my intro where I said, and this also helped me qualify, that New York is not a real place.
No, it's not. And the funny is, like, the reason why I titled mine that was because I would send. It's pretty well documented on this show anyway that Dean and I have what we call a jihad going on Instagram, where we're trying to make the other person laugh harder, or have some kind of awful
Or
reaction.
slap your forehead and go, what is happening?
And
What
a
is
lot of the
happening?
times, like, you see those videos on TikTok or on Instagram, and it's like New York is not a real place, and they'll show you something. And it's funny because, like, in trying to come up with I did two stories in 3 pages. Like, they're very quick, they're not super detailed or anything like that. But I don't know what would happen if somebody punched a cab in LA. Probably nothing. You know what I mean? Or probably, somebody would jump out or whatever. But like in New York, it's such a New York thing to react to. Punching a cab. I punched a cab because it almost hit my then fiance, my now wife. Like, punched a cab. Who punches cars? It's such a, like, why? And what's funny is I was thinking about the stories I could have told, like, how I sold Lou Reed a pack of cigarettes, or how Debbie Harry used to come into my deli. Like, I could have told all these stories, and it's like, yeah, I don't know, like,
Wait, Vito, you are reminding me, and actually we can get off this. We've been showing the Kickstarter, and we can talk about some of the contributors shortly. But please, 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 as candidly as possible, this actually would have to start the real life comics only in LA.
No, we're not. I'm
You
keeping it.
can't tell this story.
I will tell that story in the book. You guys do only in LA. I will tell the story.
Please tell it now because it'll get people to want only to pick up this book, but the next, and maybe it's a truncated version.
I think the time has finally come, huh? So I was very hard laughing already. I was very hard up for money, and there were prospects. The prospects were very slim while I lived there. I lived in LA for 3 months, from February to May, exactly the 21st of February to May 21st, and then I took a bus up to Seattle, and I lived in Seattle for a little over a year. Best decision I ever made. The times in LA were terrible. Like, I was broke. I would buy. They were doing a. This is 1999. I don't think Eli was more than like 4 years old at that point.
No, I was in high school at least.
Okay, so
Freshman.
there was a point where McDonald's were selling cheeseburgers for like 10 cents or something like that, like something absurd, you know. And so for a week, I would buy like enough cheeseburgers for a week. That's how broke I was. So fucking Dean, I can't
He's
stand
killing himself.
He's
He's
crying
murdering
already.
himself. The 10-cent.
and that would be the only thing I ate for the day. So I'm looking through the
Did you ever see
classified-
Morgan Spurlock's film Vito?
Yeah,
Like, you're not
and he's
supposed to-
dead.
out yet.
He's coming out right
He's
around
dead
then.
now, yeah. So I had considered doing an adult film where Dean's gone. That's it. That's all I'll say. And I didn't do it. But the only reason why
As a producer?
A young Ron Jeremy.
the only reason why I didn't do it is because I didn't have a car, and it was out in the valley, and I was like, all right, how do I get to the valley? And it was like, you got to take this bus to transfer to this bus, then you got to walk to this bus, then you got to take another bus, and then maybe, like, you know, get somebody to pick you up at that bus station. And then I was like, it's not worth it.
What were they paying? Like $25?
25 bucks was the entire pay.
To do the porno film, and it was just the hassle of getting there because you didn't have a car. And it's one of the funniest, like, and the thing that's funny is, like, I don't remember the first time you told me if you started off by telling me it was for a porno film, but ended it by saying it was for a porno film. And then I went, whoa, because you wanted this gig. And oh my God, man, if you had gotten there, that's a whole other story.
Whole other story.
Like, but the frustration.
25 bucks.
And I guess it was also funny because, you know, SNL had that skit, right? Where I forget the name of the Californians.
Oh,
And
yeah.
all they do is talk about how to get from A to B.
And that's the funniest.
101 to the 5.
The whole thing,
Hang up.
when that skit happened, I was so on the floor. And somebody, I don't remember who it was, it might have been my wife. She's like, why is that funny? I was like, all people do in LA is give directions. It's
crazy.
nothing but directions. And like, it doesn't even matter if what he's saying on the show is an actual direction to someplace. Like, if the 405 can connect to the 5, like, it can. But I mean, if it couldn't, it doesn't matter. It's just that's
Right.
the culture.
And
Is
it
LA
didn't
the
even
only place
matter
where they
that-
say the
Yes.
before the
Yeah.
highway?
Yeah.
Like, they don't do
Yeah.
that anywhere else.
And it
right?
doesn't even matter that sketch came out and made fun of it so hard. People still do it.
Yeah,
Like, dude, I get around with Waze. I don't need you to
Yeah,
yell
yeah.
at,
Right,
like,
right,
and they're still
right.
be like, take the 101, hang it, get off.
So when
like,
when-
why?
when Jonathan Ames, who's in the book, started writing his Happy Doll series, right, which is great, and you've read them, Vito,
Mhm.
and there's 3, and he's got a 4th one coming out,
coming,
hopefully more. But I remember in the first book, because he had moved to California years, you know, however many years ago, so he's writing this noir in California, and I remember there was a chapter or two where I'm like, is he really describing how this guy's driving around to this road that high? I'm like, what is going on? And I was like, I guess that's just what happens when you move to LA. It
Totally
becomes
does.
part of your vocabulary, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, let's talk about some of the stories, Dean.
Yeah. Do you have a list? And
Well,
you remember them a little bit better than I do, I think.
Yeah, well, so it's funny. So, and this brings up a topic about the book. So, the other book I did had chapters, right? It was themed, there were themes, and we felt like that wasn't going to work for this book. You know, would there be a
We didn't want to put
subway-
the subway stories in a subway section.
Oh,
you
I
know,
see.
like
Yeah,
kind
just
of
like it didn't feel right. So this still bothers me a little bit, I would say. It's kind of it's just the book is just kind of laid out. Like there's not themes. There's not, sort of trends or whatever. I don't know how you'd even describe it. But emotionally, I feel like the stories, they don't do this, one after the other. They kind of do this. And that's kind of what I tried to do. So they
Could you
sort of
could you
work.
explain that to the listener what you just
Yeah.
described?
Well, yeah, just like a really jagged, wave, right? Or a big,
Instead of like a heart attack beat, it's more of a pilot flame, right?
yeah.
Kind of
And
thing. Like
and
instead
so
of a bonfire.
but we touch on so many things. Like there's really, really tragic, stories of tragedy. There's a 9/11 story. There's COVID. There's a COVID story. And that's the good thing is we didn't wear out those subjects either. I thought was really good. But it gets really serious, and then there's really silly stuff too. And so it kind of has a little something for everyone, if not most people, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like we did get kind of late in the game. We got a graffiti story, and then it was like, "What? Hello! Like we need to have a graffiti story." It would have been crazy if we didn't, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so, but Gideon's story is really pretty incredible. That's like an easy one to talk about. He went to the holiday parade in Greenwich Village and wore a
Halloween.
mask, and
Yeah.
then he found himself at like a really like hardcore like sex, party kind of thing, like an orgy kind of thing. So that's kind of felt like an only in New York, right? That's kind of funny, but also like just a little weird how it happened.
Rick Parker, famous letterer as well as a cartoonist,
Great
who's
story.
awesome. I love him. He tells a great story about driving a cab before, I think, working at Marvel, if I'm correct.
Yeah, or maybe,
Um,
yeah,
or
probably.
maybe during, who knows? Aren't we all driving cabs, guys, while we do this? Yeah.
I actually did
Constantly,
drive a cab in Staten Island.
Oh wow.
Really?
Yeah, not in this
So,
one.
so
Wow.
we can compete with LA. We've got a road rage story was what that was about Rick.
Right.
It's basically a road rage story that maybe would be an LA story actually. That you showed it, Vita, when you were scrolling. It's the first story in the book is Cynthia von Bueller's story. Beautiful art and a really quirky story about how she nursed a pigeon back to life and then she eventually kind of had to let it go and then missed it, missed the pigeon and ended up sort of figuring out a really clever way to get the pigeon back. I won't give away the spoiler, but just really sort of a magical story, I think, in that regard. Um,
Pigeons are a New York staple. I think the only other place you see pigeons in such proliferation is in the Vatican
yeah,
or in
Huh.
Venice or something,
Rome.
you know?
Yeah.
I was gonna say a John Woo movie, but that's Doves.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
right.
Sorry.
Danny Hellman's story is
Oh my God.
phenomenal about his time at Screw Magazine.
Those are always the best stories. They really
Yeah,
are. He's done a couple of them in different places, but this one's going to be this one's going to be special, I feel.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's incredible. And Joe Dater, who's a New Yorker cartoonist, what's his he tells such an incredible story that if you had pitched it to me, I'd be like, I don't know, that doesn't sound. But again, the power of artwork and then the way you stage something,
Yeah.
in a
It's
comic.
about being the kid of immigrants, Italian immigrants, and kind of just with the wackiness, which my dad was the child of Italian immigrants. Like there was definitely some things that I could
But
identify
it
with.
was about the home and how it was
Yes.
dressed
Yeah.
and what that meant, kind of like when you talk about like I remember I went to my Spanish friend's house and it was the first time I encountered plastic on a couch. I was like,
Right.
why would you even sit on that? Like, I don't, what's going on here? Like it's just awful,
Yeah.
just different cultures.
Yeah. There's stories about anti-Semitism. We couldn't leave that out. Really sort of couple powerful stories there from Ben Catcher and Peter Cooper.
yeah.
Interesting way they sort of both wrote about the same incident, but from their own perspective.
Wow.
And so they're kind of like almost two different stories, but it's really about the same thing. That's really a lot of fun. Speaking of Josh, is one of my favorite stories in the book. There's this thing that happens in New York where the Hasids, I guess, I don't know what sect they're from, but they ask everybody walking by, they kind of camp on the sidewalk and they say, "Are you Jewish?"
They did it to
And
me.
and they want to,
That's
proselytize,
the
even though that's not what they
Orthodox.
call
That's
it,
the
probably.
Orthodox. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Orthodox
Um,
Jews. Yeah. Yeah.
um, and so
Great
Josh
camera
was Jewish.
salesmen, but
He's a secular Jewish person,
I caught,
but sort of how he dealt with that, like so.
Wait, what'd you say, Eli?
I said they're great camera salesmen, but that's it because they have
I caught it.
Yeah.
I was nobody else caught it. I caught it. I'm glad.
I missed it.
What's
Anyways, I
that
tried to buy
shot
something from B&H recently, and
B&H, yeah.
you couldn't even use their website
Because
for
it was
the
Sunday, or
Sabbath. Yeah, it was like, really? Like,
Oh, come on.
I'm serious. And it said it because of the holiday or because of, the time of day that it was, like the sun had set it or whatever, something
Machines
happened.
aren't Jewish.
you
But
have
the
to you have
internet
to
isn't Jewish.
well, isn't it?
That kind of blew my
Outdoor.
mind.
Is
Like,
it?
wow,
Is it?
they're taking this seriously.
They ask you if
Um,
you're male or female, and if you're female, you can't use the website at all.
Oh man.
I'm just kidding.
Come on.
Sorry. Judaism jokes.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Cut that out. Cut that out.
we got a story
Um,
from Bob Sikoriak, who never does autobio.
Yeah.
Dean, you can probably
and
talk about that one too. It's really a fun story.
well, it's great. It's the origin of his carousel that I went to a carousel early on and saw his, and then I started doing, reading comics out loud. In fact, it changed the way I write comics because when I would read some comics out loud, I realized, oh, that's not meant to be read out loud. So then I started writing comics that might be read out loud,
Hmm.
So it did change my voice, as it were. And what's great about the Bob Zakoriak story as well is that he uses his own style because normally he's aping or parroting other
I've never seen
styles.
It's
Yeah.
been years since I've seen his actual style.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rare. Keith Knight has a great story that involves Spike Lee, and
It's
so
on the page too. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So
Little
it's
snippet
shown
of it.
there. Really, and so that's another thing is we tried to get people that were not only citizens of New York, right? We have some stories of people that were visiting maybe, or they came here for a reason, that they didn't have to be like a native New Yorker or something like that, because that's really something very true about New York too, right? Is after a certain period of time, I don't really know, like I think you have to ride the Coney Island cyclone before you can be considered a true New Yorker or something, but there's like, anyone can become a New
That's the
Yorker.
test. The cyclone
Yeah.
is the test,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I never
but what's
really.
also great about like curating and editing is like you ask somebody, do you have a New York story? And then they pitch you. And the amount that did get covered in this one first tome, that makes it feel like New York. Or like Cecil Castellucci with Krista Casano doing Cafe Reggio and the origin of the espresso.
Mhm.
Like who would have thought about that? And then that's a New York story,
Yeah.
Joan Riley's story is great. It's a creepy story about a basically a friendly stalker, which
Like overly
happens.
friendly.
Yeah, exactly. And it was also cool. Like you'd have your story, but then sometimes we'd ask somebody to put a little more context on the bookends so that you had the meat was in the middle. But then you'd be like, well, why are we starting this story? And what is it you need? And what are you trying to get? Like with your story, Doug, I know you don't want to necessarily spoil it, but like I asked you, I was like, okay, I get that's your story, but I need to don't assume that everybody knows that the person that's in this, everybody knows who that is.
Right.
So for you to have this encounter then has a little of a backstory to give context to this person that you're sharing space with.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
like easy to say, I got into an elevator with Michael Jackson. Most people know who that is, right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to say, go into the career of, but there are other particular people who, as famous as they are, you sometimes have to give a little bit of context. And then what it does is also you're expressing, or the writer or the person telling the story is expressing what they admire about that person, personally.
Yeah. Yeah. And that story is what the person is famous for. If I can explain, from like the 1960s.
There's an ironic twist in your
like
story.
It's sort of, I am a recipient of a similar kind of thing, like 60 years later in 2016, and that's kind of what made the thing there. But we have Julia Wirtz, we have Rochelle Meyer, who's another New Yorker cartoonist. Really cool story, like an encounter story, I would say. She turns a corner and
let me clarify just for anyone watching and listening. When you say another New Yorker cartoonist, you don't mean a cartoonist from New York. You mean someone who's drawn for
the New Yorker.
Yeah,
New
like
Yorker.
Yes.
That's right.
this is like I'm trying to let everyone know this is a big deal.
And we have
Yeah.
Mad Magazine artists, and we have American Splendor artists. So
Drew
it's
Friedman,
very New York. It's very
American.
autobio.
Yeah. Rochelle's stories, she turns a corner and comes upon a parade of clowns. Like it's just like to me, that's kind of like only that's like where would that happen elsewhere? Like I don't know if that could be possible. So that
In a
was one
way,
of the
you're just
credits.
reminding me of like the movie, the Scorsese's After Hours, which is an only New York
Hmm.
story. Like stuff like that, or
Yeah.
any Scorsese movie actually. But still,
Yep. Yep. So we could go on and on. 51 stories altogether, which
Incredible.
Eli, we agreed to 30 when we started, I
I
think.
know. But you just
And we
kept being
could,
like, "Oh, this one," and I was like, "Let's just." I'm never someone that's gonna be like, You know what? No, we set out a thing, and that's the ceiling." It's like
and
you gotta just take the opportunities when they come, and it just kept coming.
and the people we didn't ask, and the people we kind of had to say no to, and I actually started a list because I have a list now of people who want to be
Yeah,
in
I
volume
still have
two.
people being like, "Oh shit, can I be a part of it?" I'm like,
Right.
"What?"
Right. And of course, the minute you announce it, I do the same thing. And when I see a project, I'm
yeah,
like, I want to do that.
Yeah, why am I
Like,
not? Yeah.
why aren't I there? So it's not a slight. It really was a budgetary thing. At first, when we thought it was going to be 30, we initially asked people that could write and draw their stories. And we had a couple of people that were like, okay, we want that writer, but we have to match them with an artist, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That was
yeah,
Um,
the situation with me. Like I didn't have an
yeah,
artist, and I was like, well, who's a New York artist that I can, because I wanted to kind of keep it kind of pure. I was like, oh,
right.
Steve. Steve's in New
Steve
York.
Walker. That's right. And he teaches comics at the Art Students League,
Right.
So he's awesome and he did a great job. Everyone did a great job. I'm super proud of this book. We have Roz Chast, Liana Fink, I don't have the list in front of me. I know it's online.
Dater's in there. We mentioned Peter Cooper and Ben Catcher, Josh Neufeld, lot of heavy hitters.
Willie Mendez.
Willie
Willie
Mendez.
Mendez.
She was the
She's so
first
cool.
person to get her art to us, done analog. Like she doesn't do digital, and she shipped it across the country, and she was super enthusiastic about the
Jennifer
Spent like
Hayden.
an hour last night trying to find recordings from the Grateful Dead show she talks about, and they're none. There's no recordings of it.
Yeah, she like Phil Leash or
She's
somebody
awesome.
put a tab of LSD on
Phil
her
Lesh,
tongue,
yeah,
something
the
like
bass
that.
player of the Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to hang out with her the other day, and I took one hit of the weed that she had, and I could not even work. I couldn't even be myself for the rest of the time we hung out. I was like, I just want to hang out with you, and now I'm like, "Grr." She's like, do you want whiskey? Or it was like, it's noon, but yeah, I'll take 2 or 3 shots with you, sure.
Yeah. Well,
That's great.
her
She's
story
amazing. I
involves
love
drinking.
Willie Mendez.
Yeah, her story involves drinking gin in the morning in high school too.
Yeah,
So,
and then go to see Bob Dylan.
right,
Oh
right.
man, I love
You're
that stuff.
Wendy Blake and James Green, Patrick Palermo. I mean,
Yeah,
we tried to keep it 1 to 5 pages, but we had some 6 pagers.
Yeah,
it's a who's who of New York people, really.
yeah. And we haven't even talked about Drew Friedman,
No.
who I approached to be in the book, and he said no. I don't know if you remember this, Dean. It was a little while ago, and I was like, "Oh, damn it."
Oh man.
And then I had the idea, "Oh, what if he'll do the foreword for us?" And then he got right back to me and said, "Yes, like I'll do it." And then he's like, "And I might have an illustration. Is that going to be okay?" And what was even cooler, like thing about it was then a couple months later, he said, "Doug, I might have a story for the main well of the book. Like, what do you think?" It's like another one of those things. Like, did you really have to ask
Yeah.
Yeah, I
question?
think awesome.
So,
Yeah.
and he's been a really big supporter of the book as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just kind of looking at here. And so that thing about, not being themes, like I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on that, right? That there's not thematic sort of organization. That troubles me a little. I'm a little concerned about that, even though as much as I like the book and I feel like we did a good job laying it out in the end, like
I think themes would have been interesting, but I think it would have been too heavy on one, not enough on another. Probably would have been a bigger headache for you guys to like kind of compile.
Well, this
yeah,
is the
It's more
difference
of
between
like a
me and
walk around New York. You're walking around New
Yeah,
York and
yeah.
it's not themed. It's like you're
That's right. And
experiencing these different things.
I want to give the experience of New York by feeling every story is kind of
Random.
unexpectedly next to each other, right?
Here's the question though, like that I would have, maybe saw a theme thing for boroughs. Like, do you have stuff that covers all the boroughs? Do you have
We
stuff that
talked about
covers?
all that, I feel
Yeah,
like. I pitched like park themes or these different,
Yeah.
but yeah, we
Yeah, we
thought
thought
about it.
about that. Well, and so what? I actually took a swing at trying to organize. These are themes. I'm not going to show you really, but I tried to organize on these really broad themes, like from a table of contents perspective, even not the book itself, and to make them broad enough so that they could actually have stories included. And then I started thinking like the person who did this story is going to be, they're not going to like the category that they were placed in, probably. You know, Vito, for you, it was like there was a section called "There is both love and loathing for this city," which I thought fit, your
works.
story really
Love
well.
and loathing in New York.
Yeah. But so anyway, we're not doing that. It's going to just be a chronological table of contents. But we are going to have a map, and
That I think is,
Eli,
we were talking about that when you and I met at the studio a couple months
yeah.
ago. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's such a brilliant idea. Like just having a map and just knowing where the stories take place.
Yeah, well, hopefully it will come off as that way. So Dean and Eli have not seen it. We're still working on the map. A person who's done some cartography and is a comics creator, Eli Newborgen, is taking this on. It's proving to be challenging, to be able to have it be coherent. So it's gonna be more sort of abstract. There's definitely a map of the city, and you can see Brooklyn and Queens and the Bronx. We left out Staten Island for
Not
now.
wrong. You're not wrong for
Um,
that.
yeah, but so and to place some landmarks, some ways to orient things, and so we're going to have the end paper is going to have a map of the city with the first 25 stories, and then the back end paper, the end paper, is going to have 25 or 26 stories, and
I
so
have to give a shout out to JHU Comics, though. Sorry, it's that if there's a
Oh,
reason for
yeah, yeah,
Staten
yeah.
Island, it's
oh
JHU Comics.
Here's the thing, and I don't mean to distract, but if you're from Staten Island, you know exactly why we don't want to claim Staten Island on a map. Trust me. They voted to
and
be seceded from the city. Like Staten Island can go sit in the sea. When we did New
Take
Brooklyn,
that,
that's
Staten.
when we did New Brooklyn, Dean, that's the borough that should have like moved away.
Yeah, totally. No, it's been a great undertaking, and for me, my style, a little bit of like curating, and I did this with Activate and a lot of other things I've curated and quote edited, is to I don't know if it was somebody said that 90% of great directing is great casting.
Hmm.
I don't know if that was, I don't think Hitchcock said it or if it was like a Woody Allen thing or something, but if you cast well, then you just literally just, if you have some goalposts, hopefully they'll be within the goalposts. Sometimes you'll be super surprised. Very rarely are you underwhelmed, but let them rock out with their cock out type thing, like encourage it kind of a thing. And so for me, the book is that. And what Doug added more to than my sensibility is design. Like he did think about in between the pages and what's around the book and how it looks. And I attribute a lot of that to Doug and his sensibility, because I would have just been like, here's the stories and slap a cover on it kind of thing, So he made it more of an experience, if that makes
thanks.
sense.
And honestly, we did go a little more mainstream. I would kind of characterize the cover being that way, that it could stand out in a bookstore, not just a comic shop. I was thinking sort of that way. And so Peter,
Well, even with the forwards and the intros, that was your idea to
yeah,
give it a little bit more of that academic kind of,
yes,
vibe.
yeah. And plus, speaking of academic, we have Karen Green who did the preface.
So happy,
So
so happy she got involved in this.
and she writes a very cool, funny preface. That's great. And so
We had to cut some of the masturbation out, though, right?
yes, there was a little too. I mean, we're
And
not
I'm
joking.
not kidding, Vito.
We're not joking.
You're not kidding.
Um, so yeah, with Drew, and then there's a couple editors. There's a lot of text only pages. I will admit, I'm a person of the pen after all. But just to really give it perspective, and like you said, Dean, I think that's the right term. It's a little more academic. I would sort of think of that as a little more mainstream, but it feels like a more like an art book in some way or something, I
Yeah,
guess.
and I feel like this book has a life too at like New York museums and libraries and places that celebrate the city for all these things. And I think through the distribution, we can get it out to these places and get it to these whole other audiences other than just comic book audiences. I think,
Yeah.
and this book has a life far beyond the comic shop, and I think that's part of the one of the amazing things.
And what's great about anthologies is the potential for really fun signings where if you do like carousel type readings, you can out of the 51 stories, if you get 5 to 6 people, you can keep changing that roster for many signings depending on where we are. So it could be a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, I don't like to look too far ahead, let the book get funded, with a $20,000 funding goal. And how many days do we have? 28.
28.
Um, I think it's, the kind of project that would, warrant not only that kind of funding goal, but also the ability to be funded. My whole thing is like I would like to see this, not just an Eisner nominee, not just a Ringo nominee, not just a Kirby nominee, or any, but like other like book prizes, like Newbery or it's not really a kids' book, so I don't think a Newbery would work. But
Or a
something
Caldecott, but
something a Pulitzer Prize, why not? Like I don't know.
I think it's Pulitzer Prize worthy.
I do too. Like I don't think that there's been a lot of comics that have been Mouse might be the only one, in a long time. So why not?
Was American Tail based on Mouse or
Are we still doing that?
no?
I love when Eli workshops his stand-up.
I mean, I'm only 3 pages of it, but I'm very proud to be a part of it. Like it's not only that, but I got to tell a story about my family, which, will now live in perpetuity. Like my kids and my wife will be on a page.
Nope. Yep.
That means a lot to me.
Thank you, Vito.
Thank you.
Yeah. Love that you're in it. So yeah. What do you think, guys?
Be great. I'm excited.
The last
20,
thing I was gonna say, the last thing I want to talk about quickly is the rewards, and then we can get out of here. I'm most excited by the Schwitz reward, where
I think
we've only had one person signed up for it. I think it's my father.
Oh, that's the big. That's the big one.
He wants to have a Schwitz. He wants to have a Schwitz with Dean. So,
oh my goodness,
I gotta get to New York.
You didn't. You did. That is not a reward, is it?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I gotta find it.
Go. It's the last one, man. It's the best one.
To go to the Russian.
Yeah.
What do you call it with you? All right. So the D train.
So we have the D train, which is the digital, right?
It's not like D, like the D, like it means now.
Yeah, no, it's not that D.
The D is Dean.
D as a digital.
Yeah.
But then we got the Big Apple, which is digital plus the hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the Knish.
Time out. By the way, that's a deal. Like if you're getting the actual book and you're only spending $15 more for the whole book, like you gotta be crazy to not. That's insanity. Like it's $20 for the digital and then $15 extra for the hardcover. Don't be stupid. Like
don't be stupid, guys.
That's right.
You can quote me. You can put that on the page.
Okay.
The Knish, which is the hardcover, the digital, and a
digital
print.
And a print.
And all those things are wrapped in potato and dough.
That's right, man.
Mustard on.
Oh no! Yeah, just to mention Peter and Maria Hoy's cover, like we thought that was really could stand alone.
Absolutely, something to look at. Yeah. Without the text on it, it's just a beautiful image alone. The bodega is fun because Eli has published 3 of the contributors' graphic novels. Bob Fingerman, Tony Wolf, Doug, and Gideon. And so it's called the bodega because it's like going shopping, for a bunch of items.
It's like a Gideon's Bible.
Then we have the New York State of Mind, which is all that previous stuff. Plus, we're going to do a Zoom where we're going to ask anybody who joins in to share their New York story with us, and then have a New York City themed game night as well, which would be a lot of fun.
Here it is.
And then finally, the Schwitz, which is where you go on a date with me and Doug at the Russian Turkish bathhouse, and you get some pierogies. You know,
Backers one, my dad.
starting with your
It's
dad.
insane.
And
Yeah,
and
no.
what's really crazy is while I was sitting here talking to you guys, a studio mate down the hall who's not here ordered some food and did it to the studio address rather than her home address, and wondered if I could run down and what it is. Are you at the studio? I said, I'm recording a podcast. I said, you okay? She's like, sorry, I'm fine. I accidentally had pierogies delivered to the studio.
Yes, but there will be a tax.
So I think I might have pierogies sitting out my door because
Nice.
she's trying to get someone else to. So we'll see what happens. So pierogies are in my New York State of mind right now.
That's great.
So,
Well-
Concrete jungle where dreams are made of.
so the project ends on May 8th, Friday, May 8th, at noon. So be sure to get in early, everyone. This is going up on Monday. The Stray Kickstarter is already over, so you don't have to worry about backing my stuff anymore unless you want to be a late backer. But I would, once my Kickstarter is over, I'm going in full promotion for this. So, I mean, you're going to see nothing but real life comics from yours truly at that point. So,
Thanks. Thank you.
oh
Vito.
no, it's my pleasure. I almost, after suffering the humiliation of Dean Haspiel, doubled over laughing at my LA story. I feel like my payment will have to be being in the only in LA anthology.
And then literally, like, we know you're going to go shoot a porno film, but the bulk of the story is like, so I got to take the thing to the thing, and I get a cab, I get it, but and then finally, and knowing how hungry you are eating those 10-cent burgers, and you said in the crushing blow of having to decide to not do it
because I couldn't get there.
It's a hassle. You couldn't get there.
The taxi
Anyway.
costs $25 to get
I
there.
mean, oh my God, talk about a boner killer. It just
Hey, I met some young people in LA not too long ago, like for a business trip, and they didn't own cars.
Oh, that's crazy.
A couple of them had bikes,
mm,
and I was like, "What?"
mhm.
So it's like
drive
it was
an
like that
hour to
millennial
get
or whatever,
everywhere.
the later generation who didn't want to own a car. Like
Alpha or something.
Can't do it here.
Yep.
I just don't see how that could be.
Mm-mm.
But they were advocating for it. Like it was like you have to pick, you have to get a good job and you have to be able to get there on a reasonable way. I was like, what?
Mhm.
Like, is LA changing? Maybe is there more mass transit now or something? I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
You gotta
the guy
drive.
that
You
lives
have
there.
to have a car here. I don't know what they're talking about.
All right,
But
so
you're not a native Los Angelino, right?
I'm not. No,
Yeah,
I'm from
so, like-
Maryland, where everywhere is.
Yeah, so sometimes the transplants are like more, strident in their belief and thing.
all right, so we're gonna end our show. Where other than looking it up on Kickstarter, again, it's called Real Life Comics, only in New York. Cosmic Lion, is it just cosmiclion.com?
CosmicLionProductions.com, Cosmic Lion Productions at Instagram. The Lincoln is in the bio. Lincoln is in, just like Lincoln was at Ford's Theater. The link is in the bio. Lincoln in the bio, and it's gonna blow your mind the same way as it did in Ford's Theater. And yeah, that's it for me. CosmicLionProductions.com. It's all there. Listen to my other podcast, Cosmic Lion Radio,
Oh,
or
hey.
the Devil in Detail, the Grendel Reread podcast.
And Doug, anywhere else we can catch you, or are you?
I was just going to plug Peter and Maria's new book. It's really cool. It's it's just beautiful, like in the artwork, and that's what they really turned me on to.
What's it called?
It's called The Shadower.
The
And
Shadower.
it's like
Well,
a noir kind of a, detective noir story. I just got it, so I haven't read it yet. But just incredible stuff here. And
I think you want to plug Wait It Gets Worse, available at CosmicLionProductions.com.
sure, you can do that too. The The Gideon Kendall
Amazing
and Doug
trick.
Latino partnership, yeah. And I know you have a few boxes left over, so
Not many. It's almost sold out, Doug. It's almost done.
so right, for sure. Thanks, Eli.
All right,
You're welcome.
gents. Thank you very much for joining us. Good luck on the Kickstarter. Like I said, I have no doubt it'll fund. And like I said, I'll be getting into the promotion with everyone else as soon as 9 o'clock tomorrow night. But
Thank
it's
you.
now Monday, so I'm already doing it. So think about the future, Eckhart. That's a Batman 1989 movie reference, Dean. You didn't get it.
No,
It's okay.
sorry.
Let's get
Thank you,
nuts.
everyone. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Dean. We will see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Great. Thank you.